Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else in between. Welcome to another episode, of the NexGen Entrepreneur Show, the show that talks about anything that is related to living right, feeling great, and doing awesome as entrepreneurs. And this is the only show that promises incredible content with credible people. My name is Frederick, and joining me is Nick Aisa.
Hello, hi.
Yeah, hey, we have a new topic tonight, and it's about leadership, specifically SME leadership. Now, SME stands for small, medium enterprise. So if you are on the SME owner, if you are an SME owner, this episode is for you. You know, Nick, I don't know about you, but over the years, I've heard of some stories, some horror stories that occurred, in some some SME companies. It's not the company is haunted, by the way. It's not haunted by ghosts. In fact, I think the scariest part of this whole entire thing, this horror-scapade, is that it's not ghosts that one must be afraid of, it's the people. Specifically, I think it's about the SME owner. Not, by the way, this is a disclaimer. I'm not mentioning any names here. Okay, not specifically target anybody, but it's something which I have learned and what I have actually gathered over the years, and from stories of people and me working with business owners and me working with clients in my consultation. And sometimes these horror stories make me feel like even if I'm the ghost, I'll also be truly afraid as well. And I might just ask for reincarnation to another better place. But I don't know, Nick, if you have any horror stories to share. But
actually, all depends on. I feel that depends on how a company runs the whole thing. I believe in that in direction and how the small SME, for example, like some companies. Okay, I used to work for family business. So family business, they have the hierarchy there. Once you hit the targets and actually you are better than you manage to their level, they will not promote you anyway. They will just promote their, the family members. Although, and that project was taken away from you to someone else. So basically, that's what happened to me, like, indirectly. That's to me a few years back. So I left the company.
Oh, yeah. Man. Okay. Now, before I share my horror stories, you guys will know this is the topic that we're going to share about, which is something related to inclusive leadership and also empathetic leadership, which is a topic that is pretty much well discussed and in debate nowadays. Where the new era or the new generation of workforce, some people from the workforce is coming over and then they are taking over the workplace, and then there is this talk about empathetic leadership, about how you show compassion, showing well-being and welfare to the employees. And I'm not sure if you heard of it, but there are also people who talks about, how you can be inclusive also. Inclusive also means protecting the other person's gender as well. And the gender issues have becoming a talk of the town as well. I'm not sure about you, Nick. I'm just speaking from what I've learned so far as well. This is like an episode of learning and lessons as well.
This is true because every gender is being respected and being taken care of, and especially when the governments are stepping in. For example, having the treatment fair, the agency. So basically, that particular one is good for in terms of any dispensary for it's benefit for the we are the employee exactly, not the employer. So as the employer, we must also look into our employees' benefits as well, and how much we actually give back to them, so that they can give us back a very good. They do their work, they do their work properly, and everything is actually is a balancing things in that way.
Yeah.
So you talk about your ghost story, right, Frederick?
It's not ghost story; it's human story. Yeah.
Oh yeah, correct.
Human scarier than ghost.
Your story just now. You want to tell us, but you.
I'm creating suspense. I'm creating suspense. Okay, the horror stories is like this. I'm sure one or two of you actually have horror stories to share also. But I think one of the horror stories that I have was, I think it was a scenario which I want to protect as well. It's actually regarding a startup, or rather a startup or a company, basically, who has flat hierarchy. Okay. And the thing here is that this is a company of a particular country, which is also quite localized, unfortunately. Never mind. Anyway, I'm just going to say that with the ambition, with this company's ambition to disrupt the market or the banking system, all right, this is actually fintech basically. So what happened is that the company rapidly expanded. So they were hiring, they want to expand, they want to hire the diverse team of young professionals, young and eager, professionals, passionate for what they do. And I'm sure there are a lot of other companies who are also like that. They want to expand, they want to scale, and they want to hire so many people. So this company actually operated in a highly competitive market, unfortunately, and therefore it pushes itself to kind of like squeeze out a lot of work hours out of an individual, or rather its employees, to meet the aggressive development timelines and also the client demands. So what happened was that graduates, right, new graduates, fresh grads, they actually joined the company as as software developers, etc., and all that. And then typically why they join is because they were attracted by the company's vibrant culture. On the website, they always show the best side of themselves, right? Smiling employees carrying cardboards and positive vibes over the pictures and pictures and pictures of really positive vibes kind of images that lures you, that lures anybody, in fact, to sign up with them and to work for them. And there's this promise of rapid career advancement. This is what every startup or every company would promote itself, right? This is how they promote itself. And I think sooner, very, very soon, I think this person or whatsoever, one of the hires actually found herself working up to about 70 hours a week. It's crazy. Wow. 70 hours a week. That is like no nights, no day on, this kind of thing. And what's more is that there is no additional compensation for the overtime. And then this overtime, no pay overtime kind of thing is a practice that became increasingly common among the colleagues. All right. So what happened was there was also another company, another employee from the same company, in fact, was also hired. And also it was done under the pretense of a standard work week. So we all know what is that standard work week, right? Monday to Friday, 8 hours, something like that, right? But in reality, this is not the case, because what happened was that, sure, we know that in Singapore there are labor laws that actually mandate overtime pay, right, for work beyond certain hours of certain hours of your time. So what this company did was how they circumvent, play around these regulations is that I'm not sure about that. Therefore, I need MOM people to sort of like give the input, because if you're actually quite well versed in MOM rules and regulation, you probably know, because unless you're hiring or you're recruiting, then you probably know more of this. But then what I heard was that the company, what they do was they went around the problem. So how they did was they call every one of their hires executives and managers. By calling them managers and executives, put them in a certain position so they have no, it's sort of like exempt them from overtime compensation. I don't know if that's correct or not, but yeah. So when I hear of this, I'm like, seriously? Yeah. So if you call them workers, right? If they call them employees, right, and you happen to sort of like work them like workhorses, right? More than 8 hours with no pay, right? If you're blue collar workers, then perhaps, I don't know, maybe it may not, it may not look very good on you. But if you call them managers and executive, they have no choice. It kind of silences them in a way. I'm not too sure about that. But
okay, may I ask, Patrick, when they promote them to manager or promote them to executive?
It's not promote. It's just to call them when they are hired. Just call them something manager, like general manager or so and so executive, senior executive. When you have this executive title, when you have managerial title, ultimately, this gives the impression that you are of a certain level, right? Of so-called white collar executive.
But money doesn't increase.
You're not rank and file, and money doesn't increase, and if you work overtime, that's your problem, right? So they always justify that it's you passionate for the job, you're working overtime and therefore you're passionate, right? So these workers simply are workhorses for the company. And as months passed, what happened was these long hours, right, actually took a toll of a lot of them. And then what happened was it took a toll on their health and their morale. And so within the company, there has been complaints and the flat hierarchy of this company, a so-called flat hierarchy, and then they have this what they call the close-knit nature. They actually sort of like never mind, just go straight to the point. They have this culture called all hands on deck. You know what all hands on deck means, Nick?
No.
All hands on deck means that everyone, no matter how high your position is in the company, whether you're CEO down to the very bottom, you are supposed to contribute your work hours and efforts to the company during the busy period, and you're supposed to complete all the tasks at hand. And God knows how long these busy periods last. All right, we don't know. You see, so in such work culture, right, employees may be asked to perform tasks, right, to sort of like meet the target instead of having proper working hours. So even outside their regular job description, outside their job working hours, they are supposed to work as well. So that's pretty bad, I feel. But I don't know. But then again, work can never be finished.
Yeah,
So if you're in this kind of company, I don't know really what you're supposed to say.
So is there, so you mentioned about this particular company, right? Is there a lot of change? That means a lot of people resign, or
That's for sure. Turnover is high.
turnover.
And there's this culture, right? This culture of all hands on deck. It actually, what it does is that it subtly discourage dissent by implying that when you complain, it's a sign of not fitting in a company, or when you complain, it's a sign that you are not performing up to par or to standard. And therefore, when you complain, you deserve to be given the pink letter. that is really insane. Can you imagine that? I when I hear of this story, I'm like, what? Really? And then the sad thing about this whole thing, I mean, from my own perspective, I'm not sure about the rest, but feel free to share as well. From my own perspective, is that you can actually alert the Ministry of Manpower. There's such a thing, and
or report to the
you can
FA.
alert. Yeah, and you can actually alert the authorities, right, about the company's practices. And a lot of workers, they are afraid. That's a sad thing, because when you report an employer on a certain practice that is somewhat going against the norm, and then what these ministries or what these authorities will do, they will investigate into the matter. And trust me, when they investigate, they will investigate to the real nooks and crannies of every single thing that they do. Okay, so there is nowhere to run. And they will check the company's violation and whether they violate the Employer Acts or not, Employment Act or what. And then they will, one of them in this case would be the failure to pay overtime or maybe inadequate rest period. So welfare is at stake. Payment is another issue. So when they do the investigation, right, the company would have to pay the penalty if they are found, in a way abusing their rights as employers, and employees have the rights also to report them. I don't know if you are well versed in MOM and the rules and regulations at the workplace. Just feel free to share as well, because I think this concerns work culture, and I feel it's very important, because when we're talking about inclusive leadership, empathetic leadership, we're also talking about how one can also be a not a boss, but someone who inspires, someone who leads, who envision things for the company and takes everyone forward. It's just like the art of war. When you have soldiers fighting for you, how you treat your soldiers is going to determine whether they will die in a war for you out of loyalty, or they die out of overwork. Right? So I don't know what you think, man. Nick, can you give your take on this?
I think this is, of course, indirectly, is a no-no, but actually always been practiced in some SME. However, to some people, right, they doesn't want to be investigated or whatever. They rather quit the job and move on to the next one. But of course, when you go for interview, right, then the interviewer always asks this question: why do you move from a very good job to this particular job? You know what I mean? Oh, of course, they will try to create some other stories. Of course, they know the story, but they doesn't want to report. Or basically to report of a company, it's a lot of things. I mean, sometimes you do that, right? You don't know what is to come out. You want to do, but is it right to report or bad to report, unless it's against the MOM? So let's ask an audience over here. Let's ask Ameba, anything about MOM, or how do you think about this kind of SME, or what do you think about how we can actually improve our so-called world of scope?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Oh, probably. What do you think about this kind of SME, or how we can actually improve our work? I mean, to be work in harmony.
Wow, I can't think of anything. Got brain block at the moment.
Don't worry, you're not so serious. We just try to chat and talk about all those things, and yeah. Not sure.
Yeah, my brain is like blanked out at the moment.
No, it's approaching the weekend, so yeah, we understand.
I understand.
It's
Eunice, how
definitely
about
not
Eunice?
strategic. What do you mean by not strategic? All right. By the way, Eunice, do you have any horror stories to share?
Oh
Because
yeah, you talk about not strategic. Maybe you want to say, right?
yeah. Mm.
Well, as an employee, yeah, as an employer, I guess a bit of both, and also as a teacher, I guess now. Um, I mean, I am still one. It's just that I put a hiatus into my projects pretty much right now. So let's talk about partnerships sometimes, or people that you work with, right? I did have a lot of business partners, like moving on from one businesses to another, and I work for MNCs,
Mm,
work for local companies as well, fintech companies.
yeah.
So it depends on what we're looking at. So inclusive, what is inclusive for you guys? I mean, we all have different perspective
Yeah.
about it, right? So
Yes.
what is your take on being inclusive?
Wow, that's a very good question because inclusive is subjective, and therefore, because it's so subjective, it has become the talk of the town and been debated throughout. But I guess being inclusive is to show a bit of compassion to another person. Like in this case, showing compassion to employees, such as areas of life like family, work-life balance, like gender roles, like health and well-being, and talking about mental health as well. When a person who is not feeling that great in the mind, and if he or she is suffering from some kind of depression, for example, but still, I would say it's not a very serious depression, but so-called a mild depression where they sometimes will feel a bit of a lack of affection, like they don't show so much of a feeling, but they can still work and produce very good results. It's just that how employees are able to deal with such people, in the workforce. They can work, they can perform, but it's just that they have some issues, maybe personal issues. How they can be feeling that kind of inclusivity within the culture itself, and how this can be promoted throughout the workplace as well. So it's like it's a new challenge that a lot of employers are facing up. It's a new challenge which I think that the with the upcoming rise of newcomers in the workplace, the newer generation, okay, and that is what is giving the issues to quite a number of SME owners. I don't know,
I mean, I'll just say that I did have a very good mentor. I mean, in one of the companies I used to work with as a local oil and gas company, I was a business analyst then. I think I mean, sometimes you screw up at work, right? So it's something that sometimes personal issues do get, family issues do get into, we are human beings, so it gets
Mm.
into your work and it does impact your work progress. So I actually went into the room because I was being questioned. At the same time, the mentor or my boss back then, she did show the kind of empathy. I was actually at the first time, I mean, when I entered the room, I was really scared. I was actually tearing already because I knew I messed up right at that point. And I said, I'm so sorry. I would not let this happen. And this is my mitigation plan. So basically, this is what I'm going to do to resolve whatever that is taking a toll on this project. And then she came in a point like, Boss, Eunice, I just want to ask you one thing. Are you okay? Oh, that was a very defining moment for me because as someone that is true leader versus just a boss, you had those boss that tell you like straight off, like you messed up, you clean it up, I give you this kind of time, you get out, get lost. That's it. Right.
But when a leader, for example, the manager, right, made a mistake, then how?
Exactly. So it feels like, oh, okay, there's humanity in this place. Feels like in fact, because she showed that kind of leadership, I felt like in a way I owe it to her. I felt that, I'm going to do better. I feel encouraged and motivated to do better because she cares for me as a human being. That was the thought in my head back then. I mean, during those days, right? This one really important aspect, right, Nick? You are so right, and it's about listening. I always think about a real leader is about listening to understand rather than listening to answer. I mean, a lot of us sometimes we do jump in. I do too. I'm guilty of it. I listen to answer because I want to get the answers out before I forget. So I would jump into it, which is not right. In fact, That's how I felt at that time. This is one part. Of course, if we were to talk about horror stories, there's a lot of that. And I see leaders that are so-called leaders that they call themselves, yet they do brand themselves as very empathetic. They brand themselves as a very inclusive working environment. And yeah, you get all the perks of, you have this very nice pantry, you have this great leisure room,
Yeah.
right? Or something like that.
I have.
Yeah, you don't have a chance to use them.
And
I know. I know about that.
terribly long.
Yeah, you get to eat those snacks. I mean, that's the max you can go because you're working in a working overtime. Like,
Yeah.
it's more about it's also, I understand if you are an entrepreneur, if you also hiring, there's another part of it being inclusive. There are some stuff, unfortunately, there are some human beings that
Uh-huh.
abuse your empathy, that take it for granted, and they actually like they use the whatever empathy you have or whatever you show them, the care that you show for them, against you, which means that you take advantage of it, right? So
Mm.
there's some bosses tend to be very strict, and they feel that they cannot even take this possibility. So they become very strict to the employees, like, you gotta work this hour or whatsoever without certain compensation. I mean, there are two sides of story always, right? If I were to talk about my personal story, that is one very defining leadership for me, because I feel that I was included in a very inclusive environment. I was allowed to grow, allowed to I have, because of that, I work harder for the company. I feel that was very inspiring. So on the other hand, for those that you listen, I tell you what to do, you do exactly how I want it, and they don't and sometimes they don't give you the they don't tell you what are their expectations. So when you actually do the work, it doesn't meet their expectations. They come back to you again and again to ask you to fix certain things.
Military
You
leaders.
Where did I go wrong? How do I do it right? There's like no ending to it. Like,
You can never do something right lah, in a way.
Yeah, it's like, can you set the right expectations for me up front, so that at least I know where my goal is. But if you don't set the expectations up front as a leader, then the person that's being led will be everywhere. You just don't know where to go because they're not being led. They are just thrown into the open sea. You do this, and let me see if you do it right.
I realize that as we are talking, right? Business owners sort of left the room. I think because they are shy, or either because they just don't want to face the truth.
Maybe it may be.
I was just kidding. Don't be offended.
It's just a joke, by the way. I know you mean a joke.
Actually, whatever we do, right, you must, as a leadership skills, right, you must always, we need to learn to follow, and then just learn to accept. And
That's true.
I'll just say, we need to actually inspire people and others and our staff or our uplines or our high up in the hierarchy or whatever. I mean, yeah, and then everybody must always keep on learning.
I think you're a little
Learning from why? Indirectly, whether
I think you're a little bit.
keep learning from one another. Just now I feel like it's frozen for a while. That's like, am I frozen? Okay, learning from one another, keep on learning from one another. Sometimes each of us make mistake. No doubt, even the seniors or the manager or management or even the directors also even make mistakes. So basically, in how we resolve our own conflicts in a better way. Yeah, and also try to think of how to solve the problem instead of like making a big hoo-ha about the whole thing. Yeah, I think
sometimes there's a limit. There's a limit of whether you want to make a hoo-ha or not. I mean, it really depends on. Depends on.
Sorry, I feel like freezing or moving fast.
Yeah, I think the connection is a little bit lag right here. Maybe Thursday night there's a lot of people doing webinars. But from what you say, I was trying to say that it really depends on the person. It really depends on individual, how they want to take matters to their own hands. Because if it were me, I would take matters in my own hands and make sure that somebody gonna. But the thing is really depends, because there's so much fear outside. There's so much fear going around, and a lot of people use tactics like manipulation tactics to so-called fearmonger another person. A lot of people use tactics like manipulation to fearmonger another person. I mean, This is
So, yeah,
very,
so-
very, very creepy. I have feedback. Hey, I'm trying to speak the truth. Is there someone who wants to? I'm speaking the truth. Okay, is there someone who wants to butcher me now? Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that yeah, it really depends. I would take matters in my own hands. But there's a lot of fear mongering among a lot of people who are working for a company. Yeah, and companies want to maneuver their way to ensure that they can retain somebody. Other maneuver their way to. Okay, I'm just not going to talk anymore. This whole feedback thing is really crazy. What's going on with the internet connection tonight?
Your hand is like moving anywhere.
This is crazy. All right, this is really crazy. Okay. Yeah. So the internet connection is really bad. Yeah. I'm done. All right. I'm done. I'll just take matters in my own hands, and that's it. Zitch. Yeah. And Nick, you're frozen right now. It's crazy.
I realized that.
Nick, you're frozen.
Hello, can you hear me, my hand?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear right now. Let's hope the internet do not fail us. Yeah, because this is a crucial episode. We're talking about things where, we're trying to help some people here.
Actually, right, no matter what, in terms of how the company that leads the management, or how the person actually made this company manage the whole hierarchy, right? You need to have a very situational leadership applied to. Okay. Can you hear me? Is that frozen?
Yeah, you're
Can you hear me?
like Nick, you're quite in lag actually. Just now you were frozen a little bit.
Frozen a little bit. Okay, maybe I just return back. Just repeat what I said just now.
Sure.
I think no matter whatever, how's the company been run, or how the management been running, right? You must always have situational leadership. For example, you must actually delegate.
Okay, this is really bad. The connection is very bad. It's what's going on tonight? Is there any like
must be someone's not happy the way we talk tonight. Okay, back to situational leadership. So this situational leadership, right? You must always have delegations of works. Make sure you need to delegate all your works properly. You must also supporting the work that what the staff have been doing, or what your partners have been doing. And at the same time also, right, you must always know how to coach it, right? Am I frozen now again?
Yeah, you must always something. The connection is very bad. Yeah, Kai, the connection
Okay,
is very bad.
maybe repeat the four things first. Delegating your things, maybe must also supporting your staff or your partners, and must also do some coaching in terms of coach each other to make things works better. And also you must have very good directions. You must direct each other so that change. Someone changed to headphone. I think her internet also something wrong.
Yeah, it's all right. Just continue talking. It's okay. Let's repeat. As long as we're frozen, we have to repeat again. So yeah. Continue, Nick. Okay.
I feel that okay, what I mentioned to you just now is more like how you have a situational leadership.
Yeah, I got it. It's situational leadership. Yeah.
To delegate all your work.
I got it. It's situational.
To be done correctly, or done correctly. And lastly, are you okay?
I hear myself. Yeah,
it's like,
super laggy. Super laggy.
The last one is directing. So you must direct each other whether we are moving in the right directions.
Yeah. You know something, right, Nick? I just remembered, right? I was looking at the almanac this afternoon, and I realized today, right, is the moon void, of course, which means that communications and stuff gets in a way. And moon void, of course, is usually a time where I would usually not travel overseas. I would not take any transport that that takes me to a far off distance, and I might not want to do anything related to telco or telecommunication, which I think communication will break down. So there we have it. We have a moon void, of course, and is creating a lot of lags in the communication
I
right
see.
now. So that was what happened. I guess, yeah. It happens from it started since 25th of February all the way to now, and it will end by tomorrow. Anyway, we're just going to continue what we're gonna say with regards to situational leadership, like what you mentioned just now. You mentioned halfway, then chop chop chop, and then
Okay.
make it brief right now. Make it really brief right now.
So basically, it's about how you want to delegate your work and your tasks together, basically. All right. And the next one will be how you want to support each other in
Yeah.
terms of tasks and whether the person done this or not done this. And next, say, right, in terms of coaching, in terms of how you feel that maybe your partner or your staff will be doing it right or doing wrong. Maybe you need some assistant or coach them together to do. And the lastly is, of course, you must have your right directions. So have everybody meet up on the right path.
Yeah. And you know something about having the
Four.
and okay, I just want to wait till everything is good. Okay, well, what I'm trying to say is that the last part where you mentioned having the right vision or having the right target, or the right frame of mind, that's I would say that would be the toughest. That's the toughest.
Yeah, that's why we need to coach them. We need to guide them. It's so-called you need to do the work together in the sense that for example, me and Frederick, okay, sometimes both of us say, okay, maybe we should do this, we should do that. Then we plan ahead, and then we think, well, this is good, or this is good, or should we do this, or should not do that. This is how we coach each other as well. So that really in the same direction that we want it to be done correctly. That's how we do it. Right, Frederick?
Yeah, I mean, we don't literally coach each other. We are peers, but but I guess it's good to sort of have our own perspective upfront.
Yeah.
It's a conversation. Amazing. I mean, imagine that you're a leader of a company, and then you set the rules. You call the shots, but not just that. You set a vision and everything, and you have a small group of people. And those are your mouths that you're supposed to feed, because they have their own families as well. All right. So that's a huge responsibility as well. So how you manage them and how you handle them or show them concern is also another thing.
Okay, for that, right, I got some how to manage them, or how to lead them for a better. First one, right, think about the possible potential change of that particular direction that you wanted to do.
Is that one of your acronyms again?
No. I cannot really done it.
Because because you have
The second will be like how you want to prepare for the change.
All right.
Okay. And the third phase, right, is how you want to put the particular implement the change. And then you, after that, the last part is you make the changes, right? You must evaluate the change.
That's a very good way of simplifying the thing. But anything that's simple is not easy.
Of course, nothing is simple.
It's terribly difficult, because when you have your own, like what Eunice has just mentioned previously, when you are an entrepreneur, you do have your own limits. You do have your own time where you feel that your hands are tight, totally tight. So sometimes you want to sort of like you want to do something, you want to show your concern, but on the other hand, you feel that something is holding you back, like you're hesitant to increase the pay of your workers or your hires, simply because sometimes the budget constraint is there. And I don't know, that sometimes there's also other creative ways. I feel other creative ways of ensuring that there's ample what they call that,
What, sorry?
remuneration, or some form of a motivation to get the rewards. It's like a motivation to get rewarded by something. Like, for example, I forgot what is the word. I sort of like totally blank off. But this thing about having basic pay and then you have commission after that, I think it's a brilliant way to start. Yeah.
Actually, we wanted to make sure that we are not overworked and not underpaid. That's the most important.
Yeah, that's the most important. And I feel that a lot of employers, they think of their own gains first.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking about how are they gonna deal with people who have hearts and emotions and souls in them, and they are not selling the soul to you unless you are treating them well and you are rewarding them justly, fairly, with regards to the work they put in.
Yes.
I think that's so. Yeah,
True.
so,
I agree on you. Firstly, right, for those to become a high impact leader, for example, or maybe a manager, you need to actually lead with empathy. Must always lead with empathy, no matter what. Okay, and you must always challenge the people with your own kindness. Okay, celebrate in terms of any special moment with your staff. Maybe like birthdays, maybe like someone just give birth or something like that. Okay, always have be a trust. How say you trust your staff or you trust your colleague.
okay, all right. Trust
Be
is a word that is very, very profound. Very profound. Like Eunice said, it's always when high employee turn around, it becomes an issue. And then most employers realize, and that's when it's quite late and it becomes very costly to retain. So retention of people becomes costly at the end of the day. So number one is this, it all boils down to money. It all boils down to revenue. So scenario A is that you pay people peanuts, people give you peanuts results, right?
Yeah.
And then you push them hard to generate more results, but pay them peanuts still. And then you watch the turnover go sky high. Then you have another scenario, you pay them really well. You give commissions, you give a basic pay, and then you watch them work. And then you push them, but firm, right? So which scenario would benefit? I mean, which scenario would be better in the end of the day? I mean, it's quite obvious, right? I'm not too sure about that, but I would feel that scenario B is better off than scenario A. It's like you rather risk the investment and you invest in real talents, and then you watch the outcome from the talents that you invest in, and then let them work for you and you treat them well, and then they feel even more motivated and inspired by you and your leadership. Versus you pay them peanuts, then expect a lot of things from them, and then they are going to grumble. Sure, grumble. Wow. If it's you, right, Nick, will you grumble also?
We'll see how. For example, like the B one you mentioned, right? Okay. Of course, everybody want a B. However, if the management is not treating you well, but they are still practicing B, how? May I ask this question?
That really boils down, because if the management is not treating the person well, it really depends on what kind of treatment they are undergoing. Is it abuse? If it's abuse, then that's very, very bad. But if it's not abuse, if it's just overtime and just working you to no ends, right? But they're paying you well, some people might stay, because of the pay, but they will not stay because of loyalty. So at the end of the day, we are all human beings. And if you treat us like humans, like if you treat people as human beings, right, and you give compassion and you give them some kind of empathy at the end of the day, and they think about their well-being and their welfare and their health, medical status, etc., how are they going to feel? Are they going to feel cared for? And if they feel cared for, would they still want to sell their soul and their time to you? That's the question to think about. Yeah, that's the question to think about. So it's a very hard question. We feel that this is the topic tonight. This episode is that a lot of people find it very hard to swallow. But it's the fact. It's a fact that they have to face it. It's a fact. I feel that a lot of them don't like the topic that I'm talking today. I feel. But the thing is that if I can be consoled, right? If I can be comforted by the fact that I'm speaking the truth, then yeah, I mean, then you're most welcome.
That Eunice mentioned, actually quite personal. Personal business company is all how you align values. Is true, and like Kai was saying that invest in workers, and the latest is empathy. Workers tend to be grateful, and they will stay if they're being treated well.
That's very true. Yeah. And loyalty cannot be bought. Loyalty cannot be bought. Loyalty is only earned when you treat people well. And that's the fact. Because people think that they can buy loyalty by giving them rebates, by giving them cash on hand, but actually it doesn't work that way. In my experience, it doesn't work that way. And you can't buy loyalty and ask people to stay just because you increase their pay, you expect them to stay, and you still treat them very badly. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, so, you need to say something, is it?
Yeah, I believe.
I just want to expand a little bit on the values. It's like my personal values, say if my personal value is work-life balance, right? Yeah. My company offer me a lot of money to work overtime or I need to travel all the time.
Yeah.
It does, compromise my family life. Then it is something that I wouldn't want to work for. As an employee, I would tell my company, well, it's okay if you give me a lesser pay. I don't mind it as long as you give me the balance.
Yep,
Because
true.
that's my personal value, right? But
Yep.
sometimes some bosses, I wouldn't call them leaders because they don't get it. They kind of force upon you is like, because money and revenue is very important to that boss. So he thought the same of the employee. I give you this much of money, you're not working for me, seriously, And it somehow become an emotional threat at some point because they'll say, like, if you cannot show this, it means you're incompetent. You are not, within the KPI range. Then unfortunately, I have to take you off, or I give you a easier job which is of lower rank for you. So basically, you get demoted, right? I think this is something to think about because it's always when if you look for a job or you're hiring as an employer, it's always important to have your own set of values, core values, and for the future employees or for them, whoever that you want to hire or vice versa, to align to that. Because if they see if it's not there and it's like, this is your vision, this is the mission, but I don't see how I can help you to achieve that, I might likely not to apply to that job. That's what happened to me. But of course, there are people who really just after the money. Yeah, they are the people that you want to hire. But mind it that, when you hire someone that is money minded, that is the only motivation, the more they want after you give them, right? Of course, they will work harder if you give them what they need. It's always the same. It's
a price to pay.
Yeah, it's a demand and supply thing. So it's always back to that. So don't expect loyalty.
Alright.
The loyalty is on the money.
Alright.
Yeah,
I got
the
one
loyalty is
story.
in the money.
I got after what Eunice had mentioned, right? I got one story to share. It happens to be basically right. During COVID period, I was working break like 10 to 7. That's my working hours, 10 o'clock in the morning to 7 p.m. And I was getting about maybe up to 4K, right? So basically, after something happens to my mom, she's and then I need to fetch her from daycare, probably like after 5 o'clock before the daycare close. So basically, work-life balance. You mentioned about work-life balance. So I asked the company, is it possible for me to leave by 4 plus, basically about 4:30 or so. So basically, they don't mind, but as long that they did cut my salary, close to 1K. I mean, I have to. It's okay, right? I don't mind. I have my own work-life balance. I can fetch my mom from a daycare center back by 5 plus. So basically, that's how I would. Yeah, and this is doing before COVID. I mean, just right before COVID. Yeah, basically.
That's nice. It's well-being. It's welfare. It's what we call welfare and compassion. Yeah. And of course, I totally agree with Eunice on that point, and that is one lesson learned for all of us. In fact, the lesson learned is, what is your value? So the question is that as employers, as entrepreneurs, what is your value? What's the set of expectation and the value you put on the table whenever you hire anybody? And also for the new hires out there who are looking for jobs, looking for career, what is truly your value? Do you value money over anything else? Then of course, if you do that, then you have to pay the price of working for money instead of taking care of your health and well-being. Because if you work and work and work just for the money, at the end of the day, when you lose your health, you lose your wealth. Okay, so this is the lesson learned, and I believe this is going to be a very great takeaway. And of course, I also feel that Kai make a good point, and that now companies are encouraged to work with balance. And then in fact, MOM does check how long the employee work. Yeah, see, so like what I've shared just now about the horror story in my earlier part of the show, it was about working the employees to no ends. Yeah, and I believe that those workers or those laborers who actually slave for the companies for hours on end, right? They have the right to report. If I'm not wrong, so I'm not sure if Kai knows about this, but yeah. You certainly missed the horror part, Kai. Yeah. So the thing here is that they were working to no ends, and the thing is that I believe that the workers and the employees have the right. I mean, whether as Singaporean or whether as a foreign worker, they have the right to report to MOM, right? If I'm not wrong. So if they do have the right, why? Yeah, like TAFEP and all that, TAFEP. So if they have the right, why are they still hesitant? So definitely it's going to be the fear part, the fear mongering part, and also the manipulation part on the ends of God knows who, maybe the employer or whatsoever. And I feel that this is something a very profound yet very I feel this is a profound yet very complex issue that we touched on tonight. And I think the lesson learned here is we need to be clear on our values. And when we don't feel the alignment with people we're working for, you know, why stay, right? Why prioritize money and job security over your health and your well-being? Because you lose your health, you lose your wealth, you lose your job when you lose your health. And when you lose your health, your life is at stake. And I think at the end of the day, one must always take care of their own body.
Yep.
So when you can work well and you are well taken care of, you can feed yourself ultimately. So this is this is why I feel that you know, despite there are many other horror stories out there, I think we just have to prioritize our own needs, our own values above all. So Nick, anything to conclude this chapter by?
Maybe I come up with my mission. I think some people online today know what's meaning of leader. So the leader must be listening. It must always show empathy. A for awareness. D for dedicating time. E for empowerment of others. R for remove all the obstacles together. So to have a very good leader, if you will practice this what I just mentioned, I think it goes a long way, I mean, good way. And someone will always remember you. And maybe let's say, right, no matter, even you are not working with them again, they always remember you. They always keep in touch with you. So you are very good leaders. You will always be respect. That's one thing. Yeah.
For those on Facebook, kindly give us a star, and Nick will come up with more acronyms in the future, right? So give us a star on Facebook page, and Nick will come up with even more value-adding acronyms and content for you guys. Okay, so yeah, we do appreciate your support. So Facebook has this thing called, you can give us stars, and you can click on the stars and just donate whatever amount that you feel like donate. You know, whatever you feel, just give us some stars to show your support, and we really appreciate that, because month after month, week after week, and day after day, we've been churning out ideas and content for just one show per week. And this is something which we want to continue for God knows when, until when, I don't know. But as long as we still have ideas, and just show us support and give us stars. So those on Facebook Live, throw us some stars. Those on Zoom, thank you very much for attending. And those who
next week, right? We have probably might have one guest coming on.
Not yet, right? Not yet, right?
Where we talk about SME as well, about grant review.
Yeah, so it's about SME grants, right? So for some of you who are interested to know what SME grants to take up, you can hop on to the next show, next episode. And the episode after that, we have a chiropractor who is coming, and he's going to share about well-being. He's going to share about health. So it's going to be a health week 2 weeks from now. We will look forward to that as well.
Yes. All right. And nothing for us for tonight. Thank you. Enjoy the next 2 days before weekends.
Yeah.
Stay smart, stay safe, stay healthy, drink more water, and be positive. Yeah.
What's the acronym that you have for stay healthy?
Oh, stay healthy. Yeah. Stay.
Yeah, that's a bit too long, right? Stay healthy. STAY. Enough of joke.
Bye.
All right, stay tuned for the next one. Good. Okay, good night, guys.